you have to be a little bit afraid if you're the rest
hurt.
of the field, because Magnus has a way of saying, everything is okay, I've righted the ship, and then he'll just make you look like a schoolboy.
Exactly.
Well, off we
Here we
go.
go.
Game number 1 of the day, round 4. Magnus Carlsen versus Gukesh Domoraju. That's where we're going to start. They're the number 1 and number 2 when it comes to our current tournament standings.
Exactly.
But with 2 points at stake for a victory, 1 point for a draw. I mean, Magnus Carlsen could absolutely leapfrog Gukesh, or Gukesh could really start to separate himself if he gets it done early in the day.
That's what those 2 points will do for you. Bishop G4, in my day, this was, I'm not going to say a controversial move so much as Bishop F5 was the old classical move. And the idea behind Bishop G4 is literally was to capture early and then play E5. And then this is the point. Sorry, if we just go back just this moment, how many players have fallen for this trick? It's worth remembering, everybody. That's a check to the king. But worse, your bishop is hanging, which is why they get rid of the knight immediately so that they can recapture with the c-pawn, and I'm just going to catch up with the players. So at the cost of the 2 bishops, black has easy development. You can see he's ready to castle, maybe bring his queen to b6, put a rook on c8 and say, yeah, you got the 2 bishops, but to make this guy work, you're going to have to play e2, e4, and that entails creating a weakness.
I'm fascinated by the way Magnus has played this position, not bringing his bishop out to an active square, but playing the move e3, which would seem to lock in the bishop,
right,
and then putting that same bishop on d2.
Right.
Doesn't feel like the most active way to play.
It's a different, just when I was about to suggest that Magnus might have bishop e2 and bishop d3 in mind, redeploying his bishop. Nope, he put his queen in the way, queen e2. Maybe his intention is to meet queen b6 with queen b5.
Well, one thing we can do as well is we can take more of a bird's eye view at both boards simultaneously. As action continues to develop here, maybe we can get a quick look at Hikaru Nakamura and Fabiano Caruana to see how the early moves have developed, see some comparisons between the 2 board states. So you have Magnus and, of course, Gukesh on the left-hand side of your screens, Hikaru and Fabi developing in a very different way there on the right-hand side.
It's not what you call an open Sicilian, and it's not a Grand Prix attack, but the bishop is on. Whoa, bishop is on c4. That's a surprise move. The whole idea of Hikaru's rook e1 was to make this move not impossible, but doubtful.
Let's pull up that board with Hikaru and Fabi and take a deeper dive into that, because yes, it's something that we would not have anticipated. As we just to get on this view, we see d5 play, the rook sitting on e1, and Fabi saying, I can play this, no problem. If you take, I plan to take back with my knight, because obviously taking with the pawn is illegal with the rook sitting on that line toward the king. And so the capture has been played, and there we see knight takes. But it does seem as though Hikaru was a little bit perplexed by the move.
No question about it. It's a move you don't generally see in such a position when the rook is on e1. And if there's a follow-up, and I'm not saying that Fabi has committed any sin or anything like that, but if there was a follow-up that Hikaru might have that could be injurious, it might be something like this. Bishop takes on d5, bishop takes on e7. I'm not saying rook e5 is super promising here, but it doesn't feel like black has done anything particularly wrong.
And bishop g5 was played, as you instinctually said. There it is on the board, attacking the queen and asking Fabi, well, you're the one who played d5.
Right.
What did you have against this? And Fabi plays something very controversial, we'll just say. Your word is suspicious. I'm going to go a little bit less aggressive with my description, but certainly somewhat weakening that king side, weakening the pawn on e6. That looks like preparation, yes?
I know, because it's not something you would do without knowledge and understanding that the position isn't bad. So we're going to drop back with the bishop d2, bishop e7, knight c3, castles. And if there's nothing absolutely here, and then you just go a7, a5, and a2, a4, stop b7, b5, and say, look, I'm just going to play the position.
He actually played bishop to h4 in this position, did Nakamura. And now Fabi has paused momentarily, and he continues in hyper-aggressive vein with the move b5. He's not likely to fianchetto his bishop, and this move, we're being told by VAR, is a novelty.
The early d5, let's be clear.
Is it d5 was the novelty?
D5 was the novelty.
Wow.
I think d7, d6 has been played a lot of games. Maybe they're transposing after the move b7, b5. I'm not taking. I like the bishop on b3. Just the question is how are you going to develop the bishop on d7?
Well, and also back to your point about king safety now, right? We've moved the f pawn. Now we've also launched our pawns over here on the a and b file as well. So where does the king ultimately go?
Well, it's going to go king side.
It's going to castle for sure. King
No
side.
question.
It's just that looseness on the e6 square that you're staring at that you feel funny about. But this last move is designed to ask that question, exact question, because normally you want to play bishop b7 here and keep everything under control, but you can't do that at the moment because your e6 pawn is hanging to that rook. So it means Fabi has to come up with a different solution to the problem of the threat of the capture on b5. Pawn takes is a threat. Rook b8 is the most natural-looking move. He may have to deal with something like bishop to g3 eventually if you put your rook on that b8 square and your rook is being kicked around and you have questions to answer.
That's it. That's
so
right.
What does Fabi have in mind here? And Naka looking very calm in this position as Fabi has real questions to solve.
Yeah.
What do we feel like was missing from Fabi's game yesterday? And is what we're seeing here, an attempt to cover for maybe an element of his game that was not there yesterday?
Unfortunately, we can't say this happened because it really wasn't like that. What really happened was he was completely winning against Magnus. End of story.
Right.
He could have just made a move, won a piece, Magnus would resign. He took a pawn. He could win a piece. Magnus blundered a piece. Magnus was not punished. And Fabi lost that game. So that's a 2-point swing. And that was where Magnus was saying, look, I got more points out of it than I deserved. In his interview with Anastasia. He wasn't happy with his form. A very good move a very good move by Fabi because prior to this, if you let white play the move knight c4 followed by a5, you're gonna be under a terrible stranglehold on the queen side. So the move knight a5 came just in time, tickling the bishop and preparing after the bishop moves to be able to trade knights. Now, while he doesn't have to play knight c4. Sorry, go ahead, Maurice.
And the bishop has dropped back, and Fabi has finally castled in this position. While they ruminate on this position for some time, let's jump back to the other game as we've seen some progress take place with Magnus and Gukesh.
That was a very symmetrical position when we left it. Let's just catch up with the players. When we left it, we'd just seen rook c1, bishop e1. I really like Gukesh's redeployment of his knight from f6 all the way back to e8 to d6. From d6, it's protecting e4. It's also suggesting anytime you play the move e3, e4, this pawn will be weak. And by the way, that's a nice outpost for the knight. f7, f5, Gukesh says, I've got another potential outpost here. Bishop e2, let's catch up with the players. Players are moving very quickly. And it was just a moment ago, I'm not kidding, I was lauding Gukesh and saying the knight on d6 is really good. There's a lot of toing and froing in this game. b2, b4. That pawn was not on pre because there's a bishop on e1 defending the pawn, and there would have been a rook trade, and Gukesh would have lost a piece.
Many a player has blundered that bishop sitting, lurking all the way back.
Like on E1.
I know in Bullet, when I'm playing Bullet, my bishops are always just way back somewhere, and somebody just hangs a piece, and I'm smiling. Oh, you didn't see my piece.
Those snipers.
That far out.
Yeah.
Yes, they very much act as snipers, but here, attack on the knight. This knight must retreat, and the pawn structure is so symmetrical, and now we see Magnus continuing with trades there.
Trade of rooks. I see you looking at maybe supporting that that b5 pawn with a4.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to go a4, a5, and gain some space. I think this knight on okay, he did it. I think this knight on d8 has issues. Like, it's not that easy because knight f7, knight d6, you got to move the bishop as well. And for the moment, the desirable b6, let me just put that on the board, a5, if something like takes, it's starting to get a little bit uncomfortable. Again, this knight on d8 and bad news. If you play knight b7, well, I can tickle you on the back rank to begin with a check. That might be harmful, as well as going for the pawn on b6. So for the moment, I would say that Gukesh has some questions that he's got to ask.
Well, the good news for him is that he has plenty of time to work with. It was a concern for us yesterday at times, how he was managing his time on the clock, but only about 30 seconds down against Magnus Carlsen. That gives us time to check back in with Fabiano Caruana and Hikaru Nakamura, see how that game has continued to develop.
Something huge has actually happened in this game, as it looks like a piece sack after d4 takes and the move e5 attacking the knight. And Naka's response was knight from d2 to b3. And he is currently down a piece, but it looks as though with a great sequence, as you're pointing out there, he will regain the material. But is this going to be good for him at the end of the program?
Well, let's take a look. I mean, again, he has to take the knight because he's a piece down. He's got to take the bishop, and we're in one of those bishops of opposite color middle game / end games where it's all about the safety of the king, right? Now, normally speaking, you would want to play the move f2, f3 here, just because you have the option of queen f1, you consider it. And the question is, whose king is safer? At the moment, it looks like a 50-50. Both kings are safe. I would therefore say it's about the pawn weakness.
But he's pausing here. He's pausing here because the bishop does not have to go to b7. That pawn on c2 is firmly backward on an open file. I mean, it just can't move. And if it moves, certainly black could also push the d-pawn and have a d-pawn on d3. I don't think Nakamura wants to see anything else on d3 after what happened to him yesterday when Gukesh planted the bishop on d3.
Right.
And he's played it, bishop f5. Now he's planning to put a rook on c8. And who's going to be more defensive here? I don't see Naka targeting Fabi as fast as Fabi is going to target Naka on this c2 square.
I think you're right. I think it's a bit of a race. This is the weakness in Black's camp. This is the weakness in White's camp. Now, if we play a move like queen d2, hoping to be able to bring a rook to d1 and target this guy, if you play the move a5, maybe you're playing into my hands. And I do play the move rook d1, but more saliently is, let's say you bring a rook to the c file, this type of a thing. Rook c8, I take the pawn, you take my pawn. You made a very good point, Maurice. You don't want to see the pawn coming to d3 because that would be all in favor of Fabi. So some issues maybe at the moment for Hikaru.
And he is showing that by stopping to think right here, right now.
Maybe there's a move rook e2 to d2. What's the idea? Well, just as it looks, your defensive work, you're covering your weakness, but if you can put the rook on d2, offensive work as well. Right now, the rook on e7 doesn't have any support. If you had a pawn on h6, okay.
And in this moment, we have to flip back over to Magnus Carlsen and Gukesh because moments ago we were at near zeros, but the most recent move here made by Gukesh gets the question mark from the computer, and a near 1.5 point advantage is handed over to Magnus.
I mean, e5 is as bold as you get in this position.
But
I mean, with those pawns standing abreast, this is such an aggressive way to play the position. And Magnus is looking around thinking, if this is good, it's great. But if it ain't, I'm going to punish this guy for playing chess like this.
I think that's too many weaknesses. Nothing beats passion and aggression in chess, and you're happy to see it when it happens. But in this case, it looks like there's too much talent on the board. This is too much enthusiasm. Rook takes c7. Okay, the queen could have been dislodged, and I think Magnus's intent is to try to hunt this pawn down. I think he wants to go captures.
I think you almost have to capture if you want to
exactly
now, right?
Captures. And moves like f4 followed by bishop f3 come to mind. Here we go. Let's see Magnus's. Well, if he'll follow it. There is, by the way, another consideration. I hadn't thought of it too deeply a moment ago, but there is the move knight b4.
Aiming for c6?
As well as d5.
Oh, just to threaten that same pawn. Okay.
I'm a pawn grabber.
You are.
You know, if that pawn were sitting back on g7,
yeah, then
I'd feel like okay, maybe you'll manage this. But with the pawn on g5, the pawn on f5, another button, the pawn on d5, another button, you just feel like
too many things
that something's going to pop up out of nowhere, and you're going to have a great position.
Well, that's the most direct as you can get. Let me play the move bishop to d3, attacking this pawn and basically forcing its advance, f5, f4, which will close the diagonal for the bishop on e5 after a capture and a g4 bypass.
Definitely a problem position here.
Queen c2 also on Magnus's. I like Magnus's position very much. I think Gukesh overdid it with f5, g4.
Yeah, we've got problem positions on both boards.
Yeah, let's pull up both boards.
Let's pull them both up.
Fabi seems to be taking over their game as well, as that pawn, that D pawn is on d3, and the boards are flipped for the moment. Yasser, I think your board needs to be on Gukesh's game. You're showing.
Okay,
you just stay on Gukesh's game there, and we'll bring up both. Yes, now we can see both boards. And that pawn on d3, we said that yesterday. Naka saw bishop on d3, and it was a nightmare for him against Gukesh. Now this pawn looks like a nightmare against Fabi.
Yeah.
Turning a weakness into a potential weakness into a massive strength there. Lobbing it onto d3.
I like the structure.
Whoa, the eval bar just dropped dramatically to losing territory with the move bishop to b3.
Fabi instantly finds the top line move.
Rook c2 coming, and he's in dire straits as Naka. Let's pull that up. Let's just pull it up. It's too dramatic to ignore.
Well, it was we might be staring down the barrel of a finish here.
I was absolutely expecting Hikaru to play bishop f4 and blockade with his bishop, not with his queen, because after bishop b3, the move rook c2 was absolutely a killer threat, and Hikaru had to play. And now you play rook e8, and this just looks winning. You can't play rook e1. Because if you trade, then d2 wins the game. Oh, yeah.
There's no back rank action because the queen can drop back.
Exactly. And if you can't stop rook e2, the queen has to move away. And d3, d2, this is winning. And this is absolutely winning for Fabi.
With a sip of the water, Fabi knows he's in the driver's seat now.
Well,
you can kind of see a lot of that tension maybe has left his body after a poor performance yesterday.
I think everybody in this tournament has a lot to prove. And Fabi, he couldn't ask for a better outcome of game one, but to get 2 points and get out of the cellar.
You saw Naka there shaking his head, furrowing his brow, and he knows it. He's looking around desperately, but that D pawn is just too darn strong.
Exactly.
And he's going to go down in this game, barring some kind of incident. Let's switch back from this game, or maybe even give us the two shot, maybe a good one here. If we can see Magnus's game as well. So we pull up Magnus's game.
Yep.
Then we can see the two shot of the players there, and we see consternation. Both Gukesh concern, as he looks like he has a bad position. Naka has just played the move king to F1 on his board.
Ooh, rook E2 still looks juicy. Rook E2 still looks like the killer move.
It's in.
And queen F5?
Queen B4 played, and he's hoping that there's no danger if the move like D2 doesn't quite work yet, because you do drop your rook.
I don't know. That might be mate. D2 looks like... No, it's not mate. King takes, bishop C4. No, I've got king D1. It's not mate. But I can start for Fabi with a move like queen F5, covering the G8 square with my bishop, attacking and threatening mate on F2.
That's a stupid question.
Please.
What if I play H5 here?
Good, very good moves. No, seriously. What is white going to do? Rook E1. What else can he do? Oh, bishop C4. That move looks very, very powerful because, again, you're defending the rook so you can play the move D2. Okay, I'm going to pick a game. If you don't mind, I'm going to go to the Hikaru Fabi game because I think this move is a winner. Bishop C4, threatening D2. The rook will be defended by the bishop so that the rook could actually move with the threat of double checkmate. Rook E2,
good luck
E1.
with your next move in this one. That looks horrible, terrible.
Totally.
Also completely cuts the queen off, right, from getting to the other side of the board now at this point. So
no, he's ready to resign. He knows there can be no move.
Except
move D2 is not stoppable. There's going to be discoveries now that your king showed up with that bishop on that same diagonal as your king. This one...
Hikaru never resigns. Trust me. He's going to find some resource. I don't know what it is.
We call him the best defensive player.
No, you're right. I didn't see a resource either, but I thought he was going to play V3 and find something. Let's jump back to Magnus.
Let's see the other game.
Massive Fabi. These guys traded blows yesterday, but today it will be Fabi who draws a first blood and snags 2 points with his decisive victory over to the matchup between Magnus Carlsen and Gukesh, our number 1 and 2 in the tournament so far. But it's Magnus who's on the front foot.
Absolutely. But winning with the black pieces, what a way to start day 2 for Fabi. You really needed it after yesterday's performance. We need to.
Hikaru checking in with the game as well. You can see their top.
Yeah. Sneak peek, we call it.
Massive problems here, though, for Gukesh. He sees that weakness on his side of the board, not just the pawn on D5, but
it's the
king now being exposed. And he's down to 30 seconds on the clock. We've seen him here before, but in this kind of bad position against Magnus, a raging Magnus, not a way you want to start the day.
Well, the problem as I see it is there's the move bishop F2 coming. What will that do?
No, but there's moves that have been played.
Oh, sorry.
You have to
I have to
get
update.
To the position. The queen's sitting on E6 right now.
Oh, excuse me. Apologies. Sorry. Okay. I'm not that interested in trading queens. If I want to trade queens, I do it on my own terms. Queen C6, trying to get a passer. I'm a pawn grubber. Queen takes D7 and G takes F would definitely cross my mind. I'm not 100% sure I could win that because there's good blockading chances. Bishop F5, another one of those moves. If we want to trade, let's do it on my terms.
So many good choices here
for white.
And Magnus just working them out. He's now been thinking for some time, and he's put away the piece.
The pawn.
But he's got the time. That's the benefit of the way that he's played the game so far, right? He's looking at 20 seconds on Gukesh's clock, 2 minutes for himself.
Yep.
He's opted for a pawn sacrifice.
Well, there is a queen E7 check. I don't know what kind of pawn sacrifice that is.
That's pawn on B5.
No.
He could have taken it.
Okay, now this is the problem that Gukesh has. Anytime this bishop appears on this diagonal,
here it comes.
Watch out. Bishop to D6 and bishop to B8. That snags an absolutely fabulous pawn. Mind you, there is counterplay. So Magnus first says, let me address the counterplay. Bishop B8. Bishop is on my agenda. Bishop to D6 to B8.
And
covering
Gukesh, though,
covering the square.
Right.
Yep.
Also looking maybe to bring the knight forward.
By the way, threatening a pawn, okay, that causes a trade. But now Magnus is going to play f4 and king f3, bringing his king a little closer to this bishop, as well as the d-pawn, making sure.
This looks terrible.
And the clock time says it all, too.
Yes,
12 seconds.
You got weaknesses on both sides of the board. He just advanced one of those weaknesses. Magnus is not worried about that pawn. It's not going anywhere. And now Magnus is thinking, how do I just reel him in? I do see an idea of bringing the bishop back from the square and bringing it to f1 and then to h3, just to eject the knight.
That's a very nice move.
From that square, and then you get to play bishop b6, bishop b8, and take the pawns.
Yeah.
That's one idea. You could also think about bringing his king up into the game as well.
I'm much more direct. King e4, give me the pawn. Bishop e2, give me that one too.
But actually, there's a galloping king. King e4, king d5, king c6, all the way into the position. That's a major problem you would have to face if you just take that king and just march it down the board. Magnus is just a plethora of choices here, as his time is now down to a bit. But this is Magnus. He's not worried about that clock. He's got a big enough edge.
No, he's pretty sure he's winning at this moment. I love the move king e4. Wow.
Interesting.
This move, bishop h3, also caught my attention. But Magnus is saying, this knight, I'd like it to go. I just like it to go.
Look at those bishops.
Hold on.
Those caterpillar moves.
Has Magnus allowed d3, though?
But surely.
Has he allowed d3? Oh, maybe f5 check is on his agenda.
And the bishop dropping back.
Oh, what a cheapo. He was planning bishop takes d7 and bishop takes b6.
Wow.
What a lovely cheapo. Okay, now
we call it a cheapo. It's respectfully.
Respectfully.
Like, nice one.
Nice one. King e4. Let's take that. Let's round up. Oh, f5.
Go for that pawn
I like that.
Can't touch that pawn because the knight was hanging.
With a check.
So he
king
had to
e4.
go back and defend. And Magnus just trying to reel him in. And here comes the king.
King e4. That's the move.
Definitely winning and resignation. Enough suffering for Gukesh.
Impressive play. Impressive.